When the heavens above did not exist and earth below had not been named, there was Apsu, the first one, the begetter, and Tiamat, she who bore them all. The Enuma Elish, Tablet 1. If the gods of antiquity were merely mythological metaphors, why did the Sumerians describe them with such biological and technical precision? What if the heavens they descended from were not a spiritual realm, but a specific point in the celestial void? Is it possible that the architects of our civilization never truly departed, but simply transitioned into the shadows of our modern world? We are about to embark on a journey through the oldest records of humanity, exploring a narrative that challenges the very foundation of our species' origin. There is a specific artifact found in the ruins of Nineveh, a seal known as VA-243, that contains a detail so chronologically impossible it threatens to rewrite our understanding of the solar system. We will analyze its terrifying implications when we examine the astronomical data later in our investigation. What follows are highly controversial propositions that exist at the fringes of mainstream archaeology and science. As Aristotle famously remarked, "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it." To understand the Anunnaki, we must first look at the cradle of civilization through the eyes of traditional academia. In the dust of Mesopotamia between the Tigris and Euphrates, the Sumerians emerged seemingly out of nowhere around 4500 BCE, possessing advanced systems of law, agriculture, and mathematics. Scholars interpret the Anunnaki, literally those who from heaven came to earth, as a pantheon of deities representing natural forces. Enlil was the god of the air and storms, while Enki ruled the subterranean waters and wisdom. This symbolic view suggests that ancient man created these figures to explain the unpredictable world around them. However, a radical alternative hypothesis exists, popularized by researchers like Zecharia Sitchin. This theory suggests that the Sumerian cuneiform tablets are not allegories, but historical logs. According to this interpretation, the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings from a planet called Nibiru, who arrived on Earth 450,000 years ago in search of gold to repair their thinning atmosphere. Sitchin argued that the Adapa, or the first man, was the result of a genetic hybrid between these visitors and Homo erectus. This interpretation creates a sharp divide in the research community. Some argue that Sitchin's translations are linguistically flawed, while others believe he tapped into a suppressed truth. What do you think? Does the rapid advancement of Sumerian culture suggest a boost from an outside source, or is it a testament to human ingenuity alone? Share your perspective in the comments. While the debate over translation continues, the physical evidence left behind by ancient builders presents a different kind of challenge. Consider the Great Platform at Baalbek in modern-day Lebanon. Here we find the Trilithon, 3 massive limestone blocks weighing approximately 800 tons each. For context, modern cranes would struggle to maneuver these stones with the precision seen at the site. In the Sumerian Epic of Gilgamesh, Baalbek is referred to as the landing place of the gods. Why would a Bronze Age civilization describe a construction site as a spaceport? This theme of high-precision megaliths extends to the Giza Plateau, where the Great Pyramid's casing stones were once fitted with a tolerance of less than 0.01 inches, a feat of engineering that demands an explanation beyond copper chisels and wooden rollers. Just as Enki was said to have shared forbidden knowledge with humanity to ensure our survival, this channel shares investigations that challenge the official narratives of our history. If this search for the truth resonates with you, consider subscribing to our journey. This brings us back to the mysterious cylinder seal VA-243 I mentioned earlier. This 4,500-year-old artifact clearly depicts a central sun surrounded by 11 spheres of varying sizes. This matches our modern solar system, including Pluto, which wasn't discovered until 1930, and a large mystery planet. If the Sumerians were merely goat herders, how did they know the relative sizes and positions of planets invisible to the naked eye? The Atrahasis epic states, "When the gods manlike bore the labor was great, the toil was heavy." This text describes a mutiny among the lower-ranking Anunnaki, the Igigi, which allegedly led to the creation of humans as a replacement labor force. We see striking parallels to this in the Mesoamerican Popol Vuh, where the gods attempt to create shrewd beings several times before succeeding. In the Vedic texts of India, we find descriptions of Vimanas, flying machines that engaged in aerial battles with weapons reminiscent of modern nuclear physics. Is it a coincidence that disparate cultures across oceans all described shining ones descending from the stars to impart civilization? You may know of other cultures with similar sky god myths. If so, please share those connections in the comments so we can broaden this investigation. Looking at modern science, the Anunnaki hypothesis finds an unlikely ally in the field of genetics. In 2004, the completion of the Human Genome Project revealed that humans have 223 genes that have no precursors in the lower evolutionary tree. While mainstream biology attributes this to horizontal gene transfer from bacteria, some theorists suggest this is the signature of the genetic engineering described in the Sumerian tablets. Even Francis Crick, the co-discoverer of DNA's structure, once proposed the theory of directed panspermia, suggesting that life on Earth may have been intentionally seeded by an advanced civilization. We will explore the implications of these genetic, out-of-place artifacts in future documentaries, so be sure to subscribe to follow these revelations as we continue to peel back the layers of our DNA. The physical descriptions of the Anunnaki further complicate the mystery. They are often depicted wearing watches on their wrists and carrying small bags or buckets. Some researchers suggest these bags represent portable life support systems or containers for me, the divine decrees or data disks that contain the blueprints for civilization. In the Lament for Sumer, it is described that the gods fled their cities in flying clouds during a great calamity. This brings us to a chilling realization. If they had the technology to leave, they also had the technology to stay hidden. Could the UAPs witnessed by modern military pilots be the same divine chariots described by our ancestors? This interpretation is, of course, met with heavy skepticism by the academic establishment. Critics argue that we are suffering from pareidolia, the tendency to see modern technology in ancient art, where only religious symbolism exists. They point out that no Anunnaki hardware has ever been found in the archaeological record. But absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, especially when dealing with a civilization that could manipulate the very fabric of matter. If the Anunnaki were real, and if they remained on Earth, where would they hide? Some speculate they reside in the Abzu, the deep subterranean realms, or the depths of our unexplored oceans. Others suggest a more psychological hiding place, within our institutions, our bloodlines, and our very consciousness. Remember the mystery of the Epic of Error I mentioned? This text, finally fully translated in the mid-20th century, reveals a disturbing dialogue where the gods debate the total erasure of humanity because our noise prevented them from sleeping. This wasn't just literal noise, but perhaps the chaotic frequency of a species that had outgrown its creator's control. It explains why Enlil, the commander, moved to trigger the Great Deluge to reset the experiment. If the Anunnaki truly existed, would it change your worldview, or would it simply confirm what you have always felt, that we are a species with amnesia? Reflect on this and share your thoughts in the comments. As we conclude this investigation, we are left with two distinct paths. One leads to the comfort of the standard historical model, where we are the pinnacle of a slow, natural evolution. The other leads to a complex, perhaps terrifying reality, where we are the shadowed descendants of a celestial intervention. Perhaps the Anunnaki never left because they are not separate from us. They are the architects of the world we see and the silent observers of the world we are yet to build. The evidence from the precision of Baalbek to the anomalies in our DNA invites us to look closer at the plain sight of our reality. The truth may not be found in the stars above, but in the echoes of the stones and the secrets of our own blood. As we delve deeper into the second phase of our investigation, we must confront the possibility that the Anunnaki's influence wasn't just a localized event in Sumer, but a global blueprint that persists into our modern era. If these beings were as advanced as the Atrahasis suggests, their departure might have been a transition from physical rulers to invisible architects of our social and financial systems. There is a specific mathematical ratio found in the king lists of both Sumer and ancient Egypt, a sequence of reigns lasting tens of thousands of years, that contains a hidden astronomical constant we will calculate when we examine the precession of the equinoxes. This data suggests a shared non-human origin for the concept of kingship itself. As we peel back these layers, we must remember that exploring the fringes of history requires a balance of curiosity and discernment. As Aristotle noted, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Traditional archaeology views the rapid, simultaneous emergence of divine kingship across the globe as a natural evolution of social hierarchy. Scholars argue that as populations grew, humans independently invented the idea of a god-king to maintain order. However, the alternative theory suggests this wasn't an invention, but an installation. The Sumerian Enuma Elish describes the Nibiru not just as a planet but as a crossing, a point of transition. Sitchin and his successors proposed that the Anunnaki established a global network of mission control centers disguised as temples. In this view, the Ziggurat of Ur and the pyramids of Teotihuacan weren't just tombs or places of worship, but functional nodes in a planetary power grid. This interpretation of ancient sites as technological ruins creates a profound schism in the research community. Do you believe these structures were built solely for the glory of the gods, or could they have served a practical, perhaps energetic purpose? I'm curious to hear your theories on this in the comments below. The physical anomalies supporting this global grid theory are staggering when we look at the logistics of the Giza Plateau. The Great Pyramid is aligned to true north within 3/60ths of a degree, a precision that modern GPS would find impressive. Furthermore, the 2.3 million stone blocks were transported from quarries miles away, some weighing up to 80 tons. The pyramid texts claim these structures were built using sound and vibration. In the Lament for Ur, the destruction of the city is attributed to an evil wind that left no physical damage but killed every living thing, a description that sounds eerily like a neutron weapon or chemical warfare. Just as the ancient scribes recorded these forbidden events to warn future generations, this channel investigates the anomalies that history books often overlook. If you feel drawn to uncovering the hidden mechanics of our past, consider subscribing to our research. Returning to that mathematical ratio I mentioned earlier, we find the Sumerian king list recording reigns of 28,800 years. While historians dismiss these as mythological exaggerations, if we apply the Babylonian Sar, a unit of 3,600 years, the numbers align perfectly with the orbit of a long-period celestial body. This same 3,600-year cycle appears in the Vedic Yugas and the Mayan long count. Is it possible that our concept of time itself was a gift from beings who perceived time differently because of their longer lifespans? In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the hero seeks the plant of immortality from Utnapishtim, a survivor of the flood who was granted godlike longevity. This implies that the difference between God and man was not spiritual, but biological, a matter of genetic engineering and advanced medicine. We will explore the potential modern locations of these genetic laboratories in our next documentary, so make sure to subscribe to stay updated on our findings. Modern science is currently grappling with dark matter and shadow biospheres, life forms that might exist alongside us, but remain undetected by our current instruments. If the Anunnaki possessed the technology to manipulate the me, or the fundamental laws of reality, they could easily exist in a frequency or a dimension just beyond our perception. The Bhagavad Gita describes beings who can become smaller than the smallest and larger than the largest. Could the Anunnaki simply be a title for those who mastered the transition between states of matter? This leads to a provocative speculation. Are the elite bloodlines mentioned in medieval heraldry and ancient texts actually the diluted descendants of these original hybrids, maintaining the divine right to rule through secret knowledge? If this is true, it means they never left. They simply integrated. If you've noticed recurring symbols of serpent wisdom or winged discs in modern corporate or government logos, share your observations in the comments. The perspective of mainstream academia remains that these are all coincidences born of diffusion, the spreading of ideas through trade and travel. They argue that humans are naturally obsessed with the stars and longevity, so it is only logical that our myths reflect these desires. Yet they struggle to explain the out-of-place artifacts, parts, like the Antikythera mechanism or the London hammer, which suggest a level of metallurgical and mechanical sophistication that shouldn't exist in the ancient world. The Era epic mentions that the weapons of the gods were hidden in a mountain to be used again at the end of the age. If the Anunnaki are indeed still here, hiding in plain sight, the current acceleration of our own technology might be the signal for their reappearance. As we close this chapter of our investigation, we must ask, if we are the product of a grand celestial experiment, what is the experiment's goal? Are we a labor force, a biological library, or perhaps a younger sibling species being watched from the shadows? The duality of our nature, capable of both divine creation and senseless destruction, reflects the duality of our alleged creators, Enki and Enlil. One sought to enlighten us, the other to extinguish us. This ancient sibling rivalry may still be playing out in the corridors of power today. The truth isn't just out there in the stars. It's here, in the structures we can't explain, and the DNA we can't fully map. Whether they are our masters or our ancestors, the Anunnaki remain the most persistent ghosts in the machine of human history. Reflect on the patterns of your own life and the world around you. Do you see the hand of the architects? Share your final thoughts and join the conversation below. In this third phase of our investigation, we move from the external monuments of stone to the internal monuments of the flesh, exploring the possibility that the most enduring evidence of the Anunnaki is written in our very genetic code. If the Sumerian Enuma Elish describes the heavens and the earth, the Atrahasis epic describes something far more intimate, the blueprint of our biological existence. According to the cuneiform records, the goddess Ninti, working under the direction of the master scientist Enki, mixed the clay of the earth with the essence of a sacrificed god to create the Lulu Amelu, the first civilized worker. While mainstream biology views the evolution of Homo sapiens as a gradual process spanning millions of years, there is a missing link that remains stubbornly elusive. Approximately 200,000 years ago, there was a sudden and dramatic leap in brain size and cognitive ability that defies standard evolutionary pacing. It is here that we encounter a detail so biologically specific it demands our attention: the fusion of human chromosome 2. In our species, this chromosome appears as the result of two ancestral chromosomes being fused together, a process that includes inactive telomeres in the center where they shouldn't be. Was this a natural accident or a deliberate surgical edit performed in a laboratory we have yet to discover? There is a specific genetic marker known as the Rh-negative blood factor that bypasses traditional evolutionary logic, appearing seemingly out of nowhere in certain human populations. We will analyze the startling possibility that this represents a pure Anunnaki strain when we look at the royal lineages of the ancient world. As we navigate these biological mysteries, we must maintain our intellectual equilibrium. As Aristotle taught us, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. The traditional academic perspective on human genetics is that these anomalies are the result of junk DNA or viral insertions that have accumulated over eons. Scholars argue that the gods in the creation myths are simply metaphors for the spark of consciousness that separates humans from animals. However, if we look at the data through the lens of the ancient astronaut theory, the Abzu, Enki's subterranean realm, wasn't just a watery abyss but a sophisticated biological research facility. The texts describe the House of Shimti, where the breath of life was prepared. Could the Abzu be located not in a mythic dimension, but beneath the ice of Antarctica or the depths of the Persian Gulf? In 2011, sonar readings in the Baltic Sea revealed a 200-foot-long disc-shaped object that appeared to have runway marks leading to it, reminiscent of the divine chariots described in the Vedas. This raises a provocative question. If their laboratories were subterranean or subaquatic, could they still be operational today? This theory of a hidden high-tech underworld divides modern researchers. Do you believe the hollow earth or deep-sea base theories are a bridge too far? Or do they explain the persistent sightings of craft entering and exiting our oceans? I would love to read your most compelling arguments in the comments. To build on this, we must examine the physical descriptions of the shining ones who oversaw these genetic projects. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers are described as having eyes like the rays of the sun and skin that glowed with a strange radiance. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Melamu was a terrifying divine splendor that surrounded the Anunnaki, a garment that could be put on or taken off. Could this be a description of bioluminescent technology or radiation-emitting suits? The technical precision of these descriptions is mirrored in the Vimana Parva, which lists the specific metals, somaka, morthwika, and loha, required to build flying machines that could travel between worlds. The weights and measurements mentioned in these texts involve gajus and yojanas, which, when converted to modern metrics, describe speeds exceeding Mach 5. Just as Enki supposedly manipulated the me to organize human civilization, this channel strives to organize the fragments of our forgotten past. If you find these deep dives into the technical specifications of the gods intriguing, consider subscribing to our ongoing exploration of the unknown. This brings us to part 4 of our journey, where we must confront the most disturbing question of all. If they were here then, and their genetic legacy is within us, where are they now? The Epic of Error suggests that the Anunnaki didn't leave Earth. They simply withdrew from the front line of human affairs. The text states, "I shall enter the house and remain in my place. The people shall not see me." This implies a transition from overt rule to covert influence. Consider the Great Year, a cycle of 25,120 years caused by the precession of the equinoxes. The Sumerians were obsessed with this cycle, and it is here we find the closure to the loop of the VA 243 seal. That mystery planet depicted on the seal doesn't just sit there. Its orbit is the key to the timing of the Anunnaki's periodic interventions. If their homeworld operates on a 3,600-year cycle, their days are our millennia. This would mean that to them the fall of Sumer was only a few weeks ago. They wouldn't need to hide in the way we understand it. They would simply exist at a different temporal pace. This leads us to the bloodline theory, which suggests that the divine right of kings was a literal claim of descent. From the pharaohs of Egypt to the Merovingian kings of Europe, there is a recurring obsession with maintaining pure lineages. Is it possible that the global elite of today are merely the stewards of an ancient extraterrestrial estate? In the modern era, science is beginning to mirror the powers once attributed to the gods. We are currently experimenting with CRISPR gene editing, neural link interfaces, and artificial intelligence, the very technologies the Anunnaki supposedly used to create us. Are we witnessing the return of the gods through our own technological evolution, or are we being guided toward a specific biological update? The Vedas speak of the Kalki avatar, who arrives on a white horse to end the Age of Iron. This white horse has been interpreted by some as a celestial vessel or a technological event. Academic critics argue that this is pure presentism, projecting our modern fears and technologies onto ancient stories that were meant to be spiritual. They claim that the similarities are merely a result of the limited ways the human imagination can conceive of power. But can imagination alone explain why the Dogon tribe of Mali knew about the white dwarf star Sirius B, invisible to the eye, centuries before modern telescopes? If you know of other impossible astronomical knowledge held by ancient cultures, please share those examples in the comments so we can piece together this celestial map. As we reach the final stage of our investigation, we are forced to look in the mirror. If the Anunnaki are hiding in plain sight, they are hiding in our history, our architecture, and our very cells. The duality of Enki and Enlil, the creator and the destroyer, is the duality of the human condition. We are a species capable of reaching the stars, yet seemingly obsessed with destroying our own home. Perhaps the gods never left because they are the silent observers of their own creation, waiting to see if their experimental workers will finally graduate from the house of Shimti to become architects themselves. The evidence is not a smoking gun, but a mosaic of anomalies that, when viewed from a distance, form a picture of a past that is much older and much more complex than we were ever taught. Whether you see them as ancient astronauts, interdimensional beings, or mythological constructs, the Anunnaki remain the ultimate cipher of human origin. Does the idea of their presence bring you a sense of wonder or a sense of dread? Reflect on this as you look at the world around you, for the truth may be closer than you think. In this fifth chapter of our investigation, we move from the genetic blueprints of the past into the shadow-drenched corridors of modern power, exploring the hypothesis that the Anunnaki never truly abdicated their thrones. If we look at the transition of human society from the Bronze Age to the modern era, we see a peculiar trend. The gods, who once walked openly among men, suddenly retreated behind a veil of priesthoods, secret societies, and eventually the complex machinery of the modern state. The Sumerian king list explicitly states that after the flood, kingship was lowered from heaven, establishing a vertical hierarchy that has never truly disappeared. This divine right wasn't just a political claim, it was often accompanied by physical distinctions. The ancient accounts of the Nephilim or the Anakim describe them as giants, beings of immense stature and strength. In the 19th century, thousands of reports emerged from North America of giant skeletons being unearthed from mounds, often possessing double rows of teeth and 6 fingers, a trait specifically mentioned in the biblical accounts of the giants of Gath. Curiously, many of these remains were reportedly seized by the Smithsonian Institution and subsequently disappeared from the public record. Is there a concerted effort to suppress physical evidence that would confirm the existence of a non-human ruling class? There is a recurring architectural motif known as the H-block, found at Pumapunku in Bolivia, and also in ancient Mesopotamian seals. Its geometric precision suggests a standardized modular technology that we will calculate when we examine the resonant frequencies of megalithic sites. As we navigate these waters of conspiracy and hidden history, we must keep our critical faculties sharp. As Aristotle noted, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. The academic consensus suggests that these shadow government theories are the result of modern anxieties regarding the complexity of globalism. Scholars argue that humans are naturally prone to apophenia, the tendency to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated things. They claim that the disappearance of giant bones is either a myth or the result of natural decomposition and misidentification of megafauna. However, the alternative perspective asks us to look at the symbols. Why do the world's most powerful financial and political institutions, from the United Nations to the Vatican, consistently utilize the same iconography as the ancient Anunnaki? The winged disc, the pine cone representing the pineal gland, and the all-seeing eye are not merely artistic choices. They are the signatures of a lineage. The lamentation over the destruction of describes a heavenly storm that was controlled by Enlil to prune the human population. If such technology existed then, would it not be even more sophisticated now? Could modern weather modification and directed energy platforms be the current iteration of the weapons of the gods? This question of control versus chaos is one that defines our era. Do you believe that the concentration of global power in the hands of a few is a natural social evolution? Or is it evidence of a managed civilization? Share your thoughts on the unseen hand in the comments below. While we consider the socio-political implications, the physical evidence of high technology in the remote past continues to challenge the primitive man narrative. At the Serapeum of Saqqara in Egypt, there are 24 massive granite boxes, each weighing over 70 tons, with lids weighing an additional 30 tons. The interior surfaces of these boxes are finished to an optical flatness that mirrors modern aerospace standards. No explanation involving copper tools or sand polishing can account for the internal right angles that are precise to within a fraction of a degree. In the Enuma Elish, the gods are said to have built their own shining temples as residences. If these boxes weren't sarcophagi, and no bulls or humans were ever found inside them, could they have been resonant cavities for a form of energy we no longer understand? Just as the Anunnaki were said to possess the Me, the tablets of destiny that gave them power over the physical world, this channel seeks to reclaim the lost data of our species. If you find yourself questioning the official version of human history and feel that there is a deeper truth waiting to be uncovered, consider subscribing to our mission. Moving into Part 6, we must address the most compelling evidence for a persistent Anunnaki presence, the modern UFO-UAP phenomenon and its connection to ancient stargates. In the legend of Etana, one of the earliest Sumerian kings is described as being taken to the heavens on the back of a great eagle. The text provides a detailed description of the earth receding, how the land looked like a puddle and the sea like a breadbasket. This is a literal astronaut's view, written thousands of years before the first satellite. If the Anunnaki were capable of such flight, they would likely have established way stations within our own solar system. In 2017, an interstellar object named Oumuamua entered our system with an acceleration that could not be explained by solar radiation or outgassing. Dr. Avi Loeb of Harvard suggested it could be a piece of artificial technology. Could Oumuamua, or the Black Knight satellite, a mysterious object reported to be in polar orbit for decades, be part of an automated Anunnaki surveillance network? We will explore the classified data regarding fast movers detected by underwater sonar in our next segment, so subscribe now to ensure you don't miss these upcoming revelations. The connection between the Anunnaki and modern science becomes even more profound when we look at the Schumann resonance, the heartbeat of the Earth. Ancient Vedic texts describe the universe as being composed of Nada Brahma, or sound is God. The Sumerian tablets suggest that the Anunnaki used sound to lift the stones and shape the Earth. Today, we are discovering the science of cymatics, where sound frequencies can organize matter into complex geometric patterns. Is it possible that the Great Pyramid and other megalithic sites are actually harmonic oscillators designed to stabilize the Earth's frequency or perhaps facilitate communication across the stars? The academic critics argue that this is pseudoscience, claiming that the acoustic properties of these sites are purely accidental. Yet they cannot explain why the king's chamber in the Great Pyramid is tuned to a frequency that enhances human brainwave states. If the Anunnaki were hiding, they chose the most brilliant hiding place of all, the laws of physics and the structures of the world itself. As we expand our view to the cosmic scale, we must consider the Fermi paradox. If the universe is so vast, where is everyone? The Anunnaki narrative provides a chilling answer. They are already here, and they have been here since our inception. We are not the masters of this planet. We are the tenants. This leads us to the breakaway civilization hypothesis, which suggests that a small group of humans, in collaboration with these ancient architects, has developed technology far beyond what is publicly known. The Epic of Gilgamesh ends with the hero's realization that while he cannot live forever, the walls of Uruk will stand. This may be the ultimate Anunnaki secret. They don't need to live among us if they have built a world that functions according to their design. Are we nearing a reset, similar to the one described in the narratives of the Great Flood? Many ancient traditions, from the Hopi to the Maya, suggest that we are living in the final days of a particular cycle. If the Anunnaki left to wait for the next alignment of the stars, their return might not be an arrival from deep space, but a stepping out from the shadows they have inhabited for millennia. Do you see the current global volatility as a sign of this transition? Share your perspective in the comments as we prepare to face the final truth of our origin. This 6th chapter represents the most expansive and perhaps the most unsettling territory of our investigation as we move beyond the terrestrial monuments of Earth to examine the possibility that the Anunnaki's infrastructure extends into the very fabric of our solar system. If we are to believe the Enuma Elish and the Atrahasis, these beings did not originate from a vacuum, but from a celestial body with a radically different orbital mechanics than our own. This leads us to the Cydonia region of Mars, where in 1976, the Viking 1 orbiter captured images of what appeared to be a massive sphinx-like face and a collection of pyramidal structures. While mainstream NASA scientists dismiss these as a combination of light, shadow, and pareidolia, independent researchers like Richard Hoagland pointed out that the mathematical relationships between these structures, specifically the D&M pyramid, encode the fundamental constants of tetrahedral geometry and the physics of a rotating sphere. If Mars was once a habitable way station for the Anunnaki, as suggested by the Sumerian descriptions of the lower world, then the catastrophic loss of its atmosphere might not have been a natural event. Dr. John Brandenburg, a plasma physicist, has published peer-reviewed papers identifying a high concentration of xenon-129 in the Martian atmosphere, an isotope that, on Earth, is only found in the aftermath of large-scale nuclear explosions. This suggests that Mars may have been the site of a planetary-scale conflict, a war of the gods, that is echoed in the Mahabharata, where weapons called Agnya are described as producing the radiance of 1,000 suns. Is it possible that the Anunnaki hid on Earth because their primary celestial outpost was decimated in an ancient interplanetary war? This theory of ancient nuclear warfare in our solar system is a point of extreme contention. Some see it as a literal reading of myth, while others see it as a complete misinterpretation of geological data. What is your take? Could the scars of Mars be the result of a conflict that nearly wiped out our creators? Let us know in the comments. The investigation deepens when we turn our gaze toward the Moon. Traditional lunar science describes our satellite as a natural body formed by a collision with a Mars-sized object eons ago. However, the spaceship moon hypothesis, first proposed by Soviet scientists Mikhail Vasin and Alexander Shcherbakov, suggests that the Moon is actually an artificial, hollowed-out celestial body. They pointed to the fact that the Moon is the only satellite in the solar system with a perfectly circular orbit, and that it is locked in a way that only one side ever faces Earth, providing the perfect shield for any activity occurring on the lunar far side. During the Apollo 12 mission, when the lunar module's ascent stage was crashed back into the surface, seismic instruments reported that the Moon rang like a bell for nearly an hour. This acoustic resonance is characteristic of a hollow metallic sphere rather than a solid rock. If the Moon is an ancient Anunnaki observation post, it would explain why we have not returned in a meaningful capacity for over half a century. The Black Knight satellite, which we mentioned earlier, is said to emit signals that were first intercepted by Nikola Tesla in 1899 and later by L.G. Lawrence in the 1950s. If this object is an automated sentinel, it may be the primary interface between the hidden Anunnaki and the global elite. Just as the Sumerian kings were required to give account of their rule to the gods, perhaps our modern leaders are still following a script written in the stars. If this investigation into the secret history of our solar system resonates with you, consider subscribing to our channel as we continue to track these celestial anomalies. To understand how they could remain hidden while exercising such control, we must explore the Gnostic perspective of the Archons. The Nag Hammadi library, discovered in 1945, describes these beings as rulers who are not fully physical, but rather interdimensional parasites that feed on human emotion and energy. The Gnostics claimed that the God of the Old Testament, who shares many traits with the Anunnaki commander Enlil, was actually a demiurge or a false creator who trapped human souls in a material prison. This elevates the Anunnaki narrative from a simple ancient astronaut theory to a complex spiritual struggle. If the Anunnaki are the Archons, then their hiding in plain sight is not just a matter of physical camouflage, but a sophisticated manipulation of human consciousness itself. They would not need to hide in caves if they could hide within our thoughts, our religions, and our media. This leads us to the modern breakaway civilization hypothesis, which posits that a secret cabal of humans has had access to recovered Anunnaki technology since at least the late 1940s. The deep underground military bases, or DUMs, connected by high-speed maglev trains, are said to be the modern Abzu, the subterranean realms where human and non-human interests intersect. Witness accounts from whistleblowers like Phil Schneider, who claim to have encountered grey and reptilian entities during the construction of these bases, suggest that the war in the heavens has moved underground. While mainstream skeptics view these claims as the product of overactive imaginations, the missing trillions from the Pentagon's budget, as famously noted by Donald Rumsfeld on September 10, 2001, suggests that a vast amount of resources is being diverted into black projects that do not exist on the public record. The technical bridge between the ancient past and this hidden present is the Me mentioned in Sumerian tablets, a set of data storage devices that contained the laws of every aspect of civilization, from metallurgy to music. If these were physical objects, they might be what we now call artificial intelligence. In the myth of Zu, a lesser god steals the tablets of destiny from Enlil, causing the universe to lose its functional order. This sounds remarkably like a system crash in a simulated reality or a centralized computer network. Are we currently being prepared for a great reset where our own AI becomes the new interface for the Anunnaki? As we move toward transhumanism, merging our biology with silicon and code, we may be fulfilling the original genetic intent of the Lulu Amelu to be a more efficient, more controllable worker. The Tower of Babel story tells of humanity attempting to build a Shem, often translated as a name, but in Sitchin's view, a sky vehicle or a portal. The gods intervened to confuse the languages, to prevent humanity from accessing the divine realm. Today, with the internet and universal translation AI, we are rebuilding that tower. Will the architects intervene again? This brings us to a critical realization. The hiding of the Anunnaki is a dynamic process. They reveal themselves through symbols, through the UFO disclosure movement, and through the slow release of technology, but they remain just beyond the reach of the average person's awareness. They are the silent partners in the human enterprise. We must also consider the Antarctic connection, a topic that has gained immense traction since the 2016 visits of high-ranking world leaders to the frozen continent. Remote sensing data has revealed massive anomalies beneath the ice, structures that appear to be pyramidal, and heat signatures that suggest geothermal or artificial activity. Some researchers believe that Antarctica was the original Eden or Atlantis, and that the Anunnaki have a primary hub there preserved by the ice. This ties back to the Oumuamua object. If it was a probe, what was it looking for? Perhaps it was checking the status of the sleeping gods. The persistent theme in all these theories is that we are not alone on our own planet. Whether they are in the deep oceans, the hollowed-out moon, or the interdimensional frequency of the archons, the Anunnaki are the constant variable in the equation of human history. As we transition into the final phase of this documentary, we must ask ourselves, if we were to finally pull back the curtain and see them face to face, would we recognize them as our creators, or would we realize that we have been their subjects all along? The evidence is all around us, in the impossible ruins, the gaps in our DNA, and the unseen hand that guides our global destiny. They never left because they never had to. The world they built is the perfect enclosure. Share your final theories on where the primary base of the Anunnaki might be located. Is it in the stars, the ice, or within ourselves? Join the conversation in the comments as we prepare to reach the ultimate conclusion of this investigation.